Yeah, I think you guys are good.
All right, terrific. There's Paul. All right, well, as I'm sure you all know, Warren is tending to some personal issues this afternoon, so I will sit in his place here and go ahead and call the meeting to order. We do have a quorum, so I guess first order of business, we'll ask for approval of the minutes from the July 2020 meeting. I presume everybody's had a chance to review them. Are there any comments on those minutes?
No, I'll move to approve.
Do I have a second? All right, any opposed? All right, so accepted. Hey, Julie, how are you?
Hey, how are you?
Good, good. All right, Erica, shall we move on to you?
Sure. In the interest of time, and in that Steve has created a PowerPoint to go over some really well thought out ideas and agendas for you. I just wanted to give you a very quick update and run through of some of the things that are going on currently. The Maryland Nonprofit Recovery Initiative, which is known as NORI, that application grant round opened August 12th. We've sent that information out to our nonprofits. This is for nonprofits of any size in this second round with budgets of $5 million and up. And it can be a $50,000 grant for assistance for operational support. That's through the Department of Housing and Community Development. The Office of Economic Development went ahead and sent that to all of our nonprofits and asked them to share it liberally as well. Maryland has also submitted an application through FEMA for lost wages assistance. That would be an additional $300 a week for Marylanders. That'll have to be coordinated with FEMA, Maryland Department of Labor, Division of Unemployment Insurance. And once that isn't coordinated for the monies to go out, it should be a late September for that one. The updates are all on mdunemployment.com. We're participating in a complimentary webinar that'll be through ICSC, which is the International Council of Shopping Centers. That's going to be on the impact of COVID-19 on property valuations. That's going to be Tuesday, August 25th at 2 p.m. That is free for any ICSC member. We did a virtual showing today of 350 Old Bay Lane, which is the old Constar. It has new ownership out of New York. It's being listed by Cushman Wakefield and McLean. Fisher has that one. So we did a virtual show for an industrial user who would want it as a scrape and build if the new owner opts to pursue a sale of the property as opposed to his initial concept, which was to lease and do a partial tear. So we'll follow up with that one. That's just in the RFP stage. We have a second tour that's been requested by Snow Hill. We did a tour for them, I guess about a month ago. And since that time, they have a new mayor. Their former mayor has stepped down and become the interim town administrator. So now the new mayor wants to come and find out about the Promenade Certified Heritage Area designations, the Havre de Grace Arts Collective, how we collaborate with nonprofits, et cetera. So we're organizing that with them now. The new consignment shop, My Gossip Girl Consignments at 327 St. John, is to open this weekend. They got their UNO. As Warren had sent out to you, the two Havre de Grace businesses made the annual 2020 list for Inc., the ranking of the 5,000 fastest growing companies in the United States, known as the Inc. 5000. Pendant had been on there before, Pendant Automation, which is on Young Street. They're an engineering company. They had 103% 3-year growth, which placed them 3,574th on the 5,000. And then Ad Hoc Research, which last year we had the ribbon cutting. I believe Julie was there, and a couple of other folks attended. They're located at 203 Market Street. They also are on the list, and they had a growth rate for 3 years of 2,884%, placing them at 128 on the top 5,000. So as I was explaining to a couple folks earlier, usually what we try and do is when we have a company that experiences a national, regional, or state recognition, we try and participate with them in the month of September, which is Maryland Economic Development Month, with a presentation, and we try and coordinate those presentations so it's done during a councilmanic meeting for the mayor and council to do a presentation to them and a representative from EDAB. We have not as yet attempted to do this during a COVID situation. So that changes a few things. So it may have to be something that we do on a smaller scale outside of a council meeting. But I'm going to wait until I have an opportunity to talk to my coworkers and peers here at City Hall to find out the best way to recognize these companies. I also have created a list of other companies celebrating an anniversary year in 2020, which I can send out to you, or if we have time, I'll go over at the end and get the temperature for presenting certificates in recognition of these anniversaries. In the past, we've taken them directly to them. We've also done them during a council meeting, and so it's just a matter. Last year, we tried it with individual members of the EDAB board presenting these certificates. So it's a matter of comfort level of what you feel the desire to do. We've also notified our businesses regarding the AG, the Attorney General's guidance on the 2020 Certificate of Good Standing, which is a fake phishing scam. And then lastly, the City of Havre de Grace is participating in the nationwide Forward into Light campaign. It's celebrating the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment, which women won the right to vote. The program provides a pretty extensive social media campaign and coverage. It's completely free. The goal of it is to light up public spaces purple and gold, which are the colors of the suffrage movement, on Wednesday, August 26th. It has a pretty massive national following with their hashtags as well as their media handles. So if your business entity is interested in doing a purple or gold light bulb in your window on that night, you can actually register completely free of charge. It takes all of 30 seconds, and it puts you out in a kind of national broadcast regarding those who are supporting this project. And it's all the details on it are at womenvote100.org. But it's a neat program that was brought to us by Dr. Amy Rosencrantz and a couple of others regarding women's suffrage. So I wanted to make you aware of it, as it's one of those rare opportunities to get some social media coverage that doesn't cost anything at all. And the final thing regarding businesses that have an event to celebrate, such as the Top 5,000 for Inc. Or an anniversary, we have a fairly unique situation this year with one of our anniversary businesses, which would be Gall's Bakery. And that could be predicated on dyslexia. I'm not entirely certain. But Gall's Bakery, according to the State Comptroller's Office, opened in 1937. According to about 3 members of the family, they opened in 1934, and their website says they opened in 1934. Their building says they opened in 1930. The history page on their website says they opened December 1st of 1930, and that this is their 90th year. So I'm thinking we're just going to go with 1930 and make it the 90th year, and they can argue over the 1934 and 37 amongst the family members. And we'll just go with the thing that's actually in the public eye on their website and on the side of their building. I think that's the only way we can handle it without stepping into a potentially Hatfield and McCoy situation at this point. So that's what I have on this side of the coin to allow Mr. Gamatoria for as much time as possible for his presentation.
Okay, thanks, Erica. Any questions for Erica? All right, Steve, good to see you. Do you want to go right into your presentation? I'm not sure we didn't really have it specifically on the agenda, but shall we go right into that?
That's fine, Mike. I was looking at your agenda, and were other project updates under new business. That way I won't disturb your agenda.
That's fine. That's fine. Appreciate that. All right. Robert, good to see you. You're up. How you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. Good afternoon, everyone. And happy Wednesday. I'll be quick also to provide Mr. Gamatori as much time as possible. Just a few highlights. Our office in Havre de Grace on Route 40, we are staffing in a minimal way at this time. I've broken our staff up into 2 groups. We have one group in on Monday and Tuesday and another group in on Wednesday and Thursdays, and we are not staffing the office on Fridays. While we are staffing, it is still closed to the public, and there are no other allied agencies working at this time out of the Havre de Grace Center. So we'll keep everyone posted as that continues to develop. There's been increased interest in Harford County sites in both manufacturing and distribution. We are fielding a number of calls that are coming in, and we are working hard to see if we can get them developed to a point where we can start discussing them. We are in the process of designing some virtual seminars since we're unable to hold them in person as we've done in the past. And they are being put together as we speak, and we hope that within the next 3 weeks we'll have an agenda to send out that will cover the next 4 or 5 months to come. We have hired a new staff member to take over Jake Adler's place, who departed for Montgomery County right as COVID started. The new staff member is Sean Kraut. Sean has been with the county for a number of years, first in planning and zoning, and secondly, and most recently, as an administrator with Parks and Recreation. So he's very, very well versed on property and regulations and the like. So he'll be heading up the big box sectors along with construction and other large manufacturing sectors. We still have money in our grant programs. I still please reach out to all of you and emphasize with your businesses. There seems to be some misunderstanding, especially among the smaller businesses who may not follow this type of thing closely. In order to get the small business loan, which is $7,500, you just have to be in good standing with the state and the county. You have to have made under $5 million in the past fiscal year. And you had to have at least 2 full-time equivalent employees working as of March the 8th. Now, full-time equivalent is equal to 30 hours per week. So if you had 10 part-time employees, but you added up all of the hours they work per week and it equaled 60 hours, that is equal to 2 full-time equivalent employees. So a lot of small people are thinking full-time is 40 hours, and they probably don't understand that they can multiply their part-timers to come up with equivalent full-timers. The second is for those who do not meet the 2 full-time equivalent employee stature, but do have an active business and are renting, leasing, or buying a commercial property and have a commercial mortgage. They are eligible and are in good standing with the state and the county. They are eligible for $5,000 that can be utilized towards their rent, lease, or mortgage. But it must be a commercial property and not a residential property that someone may have a home office in. And the last is our farm for farmers that don't meet the 2-employee rule as a small business. If they have a farm that is greater than 10 acres and in good standing with the county and the state, they are eligible for $2,500 that can be utilized for operational costs. We are in the process of investigating and designing a new online grant application system for the county, which would be countywide, not just for the COVID grants, but for any type of grant that people would apply for through the county. We are looking at some out-of-the-box types of companies that have these programs already and evaluating them against our needs, and hopefully we will have something online before the end of the year. Hartford Transit is still operating what's called a modified demand response system. And this allows anybody within the county, it doesn't matter if you're a senior or disabled, now it is open to everyone who is in need of transportation. They can call Hartford Transit and make an appointment and get picked up from wherever they are and taken to anywhere else in Hartford County. So it's almost like a personal taxi service, especially for those in the workforce who were having problems and who were transit dependent. So this is on a first come, first basis, served basis, and we do prioritize our medical appointments first. So it's getting dialysis or having cancer treatments or things of high level need. And lastly, we have just published, and I distributed to Erica, hopefully you received them, Erica, our new publication, Alphabet Suit. And what Alphabet Suit is essentially a chronicle of everything APG. It lists all of the acronyms, who the major players are at APG, and a number of things that would be very relevant for anyone who has to interface with the base. We have published one, but we also have an online version that is updated every 2 weeks. So as people come and go on base, we are updating that information, and about every 6 months, we'll probably do a print update version. And that's all I have for right now. Any questions?
Questions for Robert?
Robert,
Yes.
is Sean going to be the contact at Hartford County Office of Community and Economic Development for the enterprise zone that Jake was, or is that going to another?
It will be Sean.
Okay.
For right now, it will be, we're kind of jointly working. Sarita kind of picked up the slack a little bit when Jake left, but we just got Sean on, but because of COVID, we have not been able to really get him up to speed. We've been administering all of these grants, and so we will work through it over the next 3 months. If you have a question, Erica, please feel free to call me,
Okay.
and we will make sure that it gets processed or answered, whatever needs to be done. I'm sure.
The property that we virtually showed this morning, Enterprise Zone, was one of their interest areas. So wanted to make sure that I put them in contact with the correct person.
It in 350 in the enterprise zone, or is it across the street?
That's Opportunity Zone you're thinking of.
Oh, that's right. Yes, it is. Okay, yeah. So feel free. We'll make sure whatever has to get done gets done.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Other questions for Robert? All right, very good. Thank you, Robert. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Jason, good to see you.
Hey guys, how are you?
Well, how are you?
All right, happy Wednesday. I don't have a whole lot to report. I do just want to mention 2 events real quick. Number 1 is the Havre de Grace Arts Collective is having a drive-in concert on Friday. It's an Earth, Wind, and Fire tribute band. It'll be up at the community center. So if you guys haven't heard, or if you're available Friday, go on their Facebook page to their event, and you can purchase tickets to there. You must have tickets ahead of time. $30 per car. Social distancing guidelines will be in place. All the cars will be spread out, and you're encouraged to bring lawn chairs. Just remain within that distance around your car, and also bring food. Second thing is that McGregor's at the Seaplane Basin is partnering with Boys and Girls Club here in Havre de Grace, and they'll be showing a movie starting at 8:15 on Friday evening. So if you're not able to come out to the concert, I encourage you to bring your family, especially if you have young kids, out to McGregor's at the Seaplane Basin. Again, starts at 8:15. It's $3 per person, and they'll be showing the Pirates of the Caribbean, which is supposed to kick off their pirate week.
All right, questions for Jason? All right, great, Jason. Thank you. All right, committee reports. I think we have some continued news on the gateways piece. Is that right? Julie or Paul?
So basically, we have, you hear me? Yes.
We can, yeah.
Approval from, or acceptance from the state highways and all the owners along the stretch. So we have the letters in the file, except for one. I'll give that. And Paul has talked to the tree people. They are holding on to the trees. So come September, October, when it cools off a little bit, we're ready to go.
It's great news.
I just want to add that the folks at Crows say that we should, ideally, we should plant between September 20th and October 20th. So mark your calendars. You may want to drive down Revolution Street sometime between those dates and see our trees. So Jeff at Crows has done a real good job, and Joe Conaway is engaged now, and he's on board, and frankly, it's pretty darn exciting.
Great news. It's great news. It's been a long time coming. Good job,
Has
you
been
guys.
a long time.
All right. Anything else from the Gateways Committee? Any questions for the Gateways Committee? All right, very good. Thanks, guys. Any old business? Any other old business, I guess I should say. All right, new business. Terry, would you like to talk a little bit about the election of officers?
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. As you probably remember, towards the end of July, David sent out to everybody a request to send to me any nominations for officers for this coming year. And I heard from a total of 3 members. And of course, I nominated people, so that's a total of 4. One person said they had no nominations at all. And so, you know, I can tell you, you know, give you a tally of who's been nominated to date. And I did send an email last week to both David and Warren suggesting that, as in the past, before COVID, we have entertained nominations from the floor as well. So Warren said that that was a good idea. Before we start, I just want to mention somebody nominated me for chair, and I can't accept it. I can't accept the nomination because I'm going to have surgery. So anyway, so do you want me to give you what the tally is right now?
Let's go. Let's have at it.
Okay. For chair, we had a nomination for Terry Kearney and Warren and Beadle. For vice chair, we had a nomination of 1 for Julie and 2 for you, Mike. And for secretary, we had 1 for David and 2 for Chris.
So I guess we should first ask, of these nominees, is there anybody aside from Terry who apparently has gone to great lengths to avoid being chair by scheduling surgery for herself? Is there anybody else who would prefer not to serve in the positions that they have been nominated to?
Yeah, Mike, I served for several years as secretary, so I'd like to give somebody else the chance to have a run at it. So I'll take my name off.
David, that's a hard job. Are you up for another term there?
Well, I mean, based on our discussion we had that one day, that we were talking about possibly having some type of support from Havre Grace, as far as someone note-taking during the meeting, and then, you know, compiling them, you know, kind of compiling the minutes jointly. I mean, then I'd be fine with that approach.
Erica, is that a possibility?
I believe that's under Steve's.
I can chime in on that, Mike.
Great.
We've already had the discussion with Tammy Brinkman, and she's going to start attending the meetings, and whatever on the support side, whatever you need, she'll support the group.
Great. Well, I appreciate that. Well then, all right. Okay, do we have any other nominations from the floor for chair, vice chair, or secretary?
I would nominate Warren for chair and Mike, you stay vice chair.
Beetle, any last minute campaigning for chair?
Mike, do you have any interest in stepping up to be chair?
I
And keep-
I think Warren would do well.
Yeah, I agree. Julie, I would. I cannot do it in the upcoming year. I'd be happy to do it after that if that's a possibility. But I got a bad year ahead of me here. So
Okay.
all right. Well then, so just by simple number of nominations, Warren would assume once again the role of chair. I would assume once again the role of vice chair, and David would assume once again the role of secretary. So
With support.
with support from Tammy Brinkman, thanks to Steve. So I appreciate that. So with that slate, let's go ahead and take a vote. Do we have a motion to confirm that slate for officers for the upcoming year?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
I second, Terry.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, well done, everybody. Thank you. All right, is there anything else before we turn over to Steve? Anything else the committee needs to talk about?
I had a request for next time. Jason, this is for you. During the next meeting, can you give us a little update as far as what's going on proposed at the property up here between 155 and Bully Rock Parkway and the winery?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that would be great for next time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Terry. Okay. Well, Steve, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, thanks, Mike, and thanks everybody for indulging me. Has everybody had a chance to see the PowerPoint? Everybody
Yes.
got a copy of it? Okay. So I'm not going to go through it line by agonizing line, but what I did want to do is kind of preface this with some months ago, we met with, the administration met with Warren and Paul, and I believe Mike, I think you were in that meeting. We had a couple, but I know, and one of the things from that meeting that was expressed to the mayor was to come up with some additional projects or subcommittees within the organization so that we could sort of divide and conquer. Erica is a department of one and a half, but now one. The part-time, or actually the consultant, moved on. So based on some follow-up meetings with the mayor, and then one about a week, I guess about 2 weeks ago now with Erica, we came up with some what we believe are strategic projects that the mayor would be interested in EDAB looking at, and he is also open to any anything from the EDAB group as far as a proposal on any other projects. But these are the ones that we looked at and we felt like would be of value to the city moving forward. So before I go into, I'm going to start at slide 4. Slide 1, 2, and 3 sort of talk about how the Economic Development Advisory Board started, and then the powers and the duties. And then let's get into the strategic projects, which are slide 4. There you go. So the first one is, as you know, we have applied for and have been told that we received several grants based on an RFP that we put out for the conversion of the current auditorium in the high school gymnasium into a performing arts center and recreational complex. So we have the money. So we've been told by the state. In COVID, I kind of preface my comments because in COVID, we're not really sure what we have until we actually see the check come into City Hall. So with that said, the RFP, we had 3 groups respond. We selected a group. We're waiting to award once the funding is in hand at City Hall. Now, in case we get through the RFP and the findings come back that the project of creating this Performing Arts Center and also recreational facility is well beyond the means of the city. We wanted to have a backup plan. And I know in some discussions with members of EDAB at various times that there was some possibility of thoughts that were in your mind as to alternative uses. So I think that would be a very good committee to look at that and then provide the mayor with some alternatives in the instance that either the project becomes too costly to the city, or we just don't have the funds to even do the request for proposal for the review. The review was in the neighborhood of about $250,000. So it wasn't a cheap date. It wasn't something the city could actually pick up and do if we didn't get the funding from the General Assembly. So that was the first project.
Steve, excuse me, this is Chris.
Yeah.
Are you going to entertain questions on each project as we go along, or would you rather we wait till the end?
Whatever the group wants to do. If you have a question, let's go ahead. And
Yeah, I guess my question is quite simply, is there any sense of what the purview of that subcommittee would have? Was it merely to come up with a list of possible alternatives, or would the subcommittee be expected to actually do research into the feasibility and rough cut costing and possible funding sources to make it happen?
That would be up to the committee of the scope, and we can sit down and do a scoping, have a scoping meeting of how deep we want to get into it. But if there's alternative, if the alternative uses comes up with a grocery list of this is what it could be, and then from there maybe we could pare it down and scope it out to maybe the top 2 or 3 or 4.
Okay,
It's
thanks.
really up. It's up to the EDAB how they want to attack this.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, Jeff, if you would, next slide, if there's no other questions. The next one is, I don't know if it would be a dual purpose work group or if there would be 2 separate work groups. And one is the repurposing of the former Hartford Memorial Hospital. And the other one is Terry just mentioned in her request to Councilman Robertson in part, is the property up on Bully Rock Parkway. Now, Terry, I don't mean to put words in your mouth. I don't know if you meant the Green Ionella piece or the piece on the other side of Bully Rock Parkway, but nonetheless, there's a lot of room for expansion in the current areas that are annexed in. And as we know, with the upper.
Steve,
Yes.
I was referring to what was recently announced about the, parcels, those 3 different parcels up there between like 155 and Bully Rock Parkway, not on the other side that was purchased by Upper Chesapeake.
Yeah, so I think you're just speaking of the Green Ionella Patron property that was just, the single concept plan was just passed.
Correct. Mhm.
Yeah, okay. So this would be the property on the other side of Bully Rock Parkway that's owned by Upper Chesapeake at the 155 I-95 interchange. So not sure how you would want to attack that. I know one of the, I think is a positive is Mike Allen is on one of the boards with Upper Chesapeake. There's been a huge stalemate between the city and Upper Chesapeake for a period of time. And I think it's time that we start moving forward and looking at and getting into conversations with both of those parcels. So we feel like that would be one of the ones on the top of the list to have that move forward. Any questions on that one? Next slide, Jeff. Industrial Park Work Group. This would, I think we often um, sort of overlook the industrial park because it's sort of out of sight, out of mind. It does its own thing. Um, and truly, when you look at the tax rolls and the water sewer usage, it is truly the lifeblood of the city of Havre de Grace. And I know we have been going out over the last couple years and making some very minor improvements, as small as keeping the place clean, the road sweeper going out there, picking up broken pallets and that sort of thing, to going out and doing some increased patching work and actually getting parts of Clark Lane on our paving plan. So those are the things I think that's sort of the low hanging fruit. But I think on a larger scale, we should be looking at the vacancies that are out there, and also just start having discussions with some of the partners that are out there on what we could do. You know, there's a lot of things we can do. There's an equal number of things that we can't do. But I don't think anything should be off the table as we enter into these discussions. And looking at improvements along the way. I know Shane Grimm is working with Mr. Shaw, as is Erica, with some new signage on the corner of Old Bay Lane and Revolution or Old Post Road coming in. I think there's some additional signage that can be used when we get down toward Clark Lane. Something as simple as the signage we put up downtown, the post signs with the different arrows for the different businesses that are down there. And maybe this is something that we do out of budget with the city, and just erect a sign and erect a post and actually put the signage up. And that's something that we would maintain as businesses change over different courses of time. But I think this is a very important work group that I know the mayor identified early on. Any questions on that one? Okay, next one, Jeff. New Business and Commercial Vacancies Committee. This was a sort of a collaborative discussion between the mayor and Warren at the time. And Paul, I believe you were in on it as well. And this is where a group from within EDAB, and I think Warren was used to this in a former life, that would actually work to with potential clients and the current industrial park users to look for and try to address these vacancies in a much quicker fashion. As I said, Erica is a department of one. I think if we had some additional assistance with this, and especially with the people that are on EDAB that serve currently, you guys are all out in the field every day, and you're probably touching base with a lot of people that could potentially either know somebody or have a business that would be a good fit for the city. This would be outside of the industrial park proper. The industrial park subcommittee would really handle do this in a similar fashion, possibly within that work group. But this would be, I think, helpful as well. And as we try to market and grow the Route 40 corridor, I think this is something that we really need to start looking at. If you've, I don't know how often you tune into the city council meetings, but there is a concerted effort by the city on annexations. And there's, as you know, we just annexed a large section of Route 40 in the area of the old Marge's Diner, Duck's Diner, with a couple pieces that are owned by Ron Adams. We're coming back with the second annexation that's going to include the Adam Chevrolet business in particular, specifically that one, and possibly two other parcels, including the Lamson parcel and a parcel that's along the Route 40 edge, which both have which we have, readily accessible water and sewer to. In addition to that, on the other side of Route 40, the next parcel up from the Stacking store, which used to be the, I think it was Bay Homes, Bay Sales, it was the modular home location. That's in preparation to become annexed as well. Any questions on that one? Next. Yacht Basin User Survey. Now, I know there was within the EDAB group, there was a group that was working with the marinas, and in further conversation, it sort of got deadheaded, I think, with a report that was given over to the council from the Marina Commission. And then Council Member Ringsacker, who's the chair of the Marina Commission, the liaison, I should say, the Marina Commission. In his report back to council, he had stated that there was a like sort of a misstep or misschedule between the EDAB group working with the Marina Commission prior to the report being given. And since COVID, there's not been any opportunity to get those two groups merged back in. So what, in conversations with the mayor, what he thought was, let's go back and revisit the initial subcommittee, and let's focus on getting those two groups together again. And in addition to just looking at and if this has already been done, my apologies, because I'm not aware of it, getting a focus on market demand, and then just looking at opportunities where we can interface both the Marina Commission, this EDAB subcommittee, and how that would impact the rest of the downtown. And I think to some degree this was, maybe to a large degree, this was done, but just hasn't been communicated. So we'd like to kind of if all parties are willing to kind of reinvigorate this, and then just move this to the next phase, if we could. Now, in addition to that, and Paul, I'm not sure if Warren got you, there was a extensive overview of the yacht basin, although it's a little dated, some years ago. I thought some of the data in there may be helpful. I don't know if you had a chance to review that, or if Warren got that to you.
Steve, I did get it, and I've looked at it, and it's been really helpful. It's very interesting and a really comprehensive report. I appreciate it.
Okay, very good. So I think this would be one, the focal point of, looking at the overall marketing, transient, the transient population that's there or not, and the amenities that we have or not. And this isn't like looking at, I think in the grand plan, the comprehensive plan, there's always been a discussion about a docking facility, somewhere in Old Town, whether it's off Green Street or Franklin Street or what have you. It's not so much looking at that. It's really looking at what we have in play right now at the yacht basin. And then, at some point, perhaps even spinning it to looking at what's to come at Water Street, because there's going to be stuff that are going to be coming to that area that include kayak launches, and also launching facilities for power boaters. So those are some, this again was some area I think that, if I have to guess, probably the majority of the work's been done, but I think it just needs to continue and then pull in all the groups. Any questions on that one? Okay, Jeff? This is interesting. So as we were going through and looking at the EDAB's powers and duties, there is a little segment in there, a little blurb about collaboration with the Historic Preservation Commission. So one of the things the Historic Preservation Commission has been tasked with by the mayor is he wanted like a top 20 of historic buildings. He wanted a top 20 list now to work with. it could be a top 100 list, but he was only interested in looking at what the HPC surmised as these are the top 20 historically significant properties. I want to take that sort of a step further and look at it in a sort of a little bit different light of sort of spinning the, putting an EDAB spin on it. And that would be working with them, looking at culturally significant landmarks and buildings that are iconic to Havre de Grace. As an example, you know, we all know that just about every marketing piece that that the city puts out, or tourism, you know, you either see the lighthouse on it, the lock house occasionally, in most cases, and then others they show the building. I think it's 200 South Washington.
204 North Washington.
North Washington, yeah, that one, the turret building. So working with the Historic Preservation Commission, which, by the way, they have just recently, they had a few resignations, and they have some new folks that are stepping up into historic preservation. Maybe a good time to set up a subcommittee to kind of have that discussion and come up with those landmarks and that are culturally significant from the economic development point of view. Maybe not so much with it has this sort of architecture or that, but it's ones that over the years have become culturally significant to the marketing and the business community in the city.
Can I add a couple thoughts to that one, Steve?
Sure.
One is there is now a historic foundation as well as the commission, and maybe the group can look at what is the difference in those two and what are the lanes for each of those two.
Well,
And
I don't think that's in the purview of this one, Julie. And the foundation is a separate nonprofit that really right now has no, really there's no stead between the city and the foundation. That's a group of nonprofits that are a group that has formed a nonprofit. The commission by charter or ordinance speaks specifically to the Economic Development Advisory Board and also the Historic Preservation Commission. So at this point, as far as City Hall is concerned, the foundation hasn't approached City Hall with what their intentions are, what they're thinking about. I think that's a separate conversation that needs to occur with the foundation and the office of the mayor.
okay, and I can see that.
Okay.
The other one is more on a EDAB business, creating some criteria as to what is an important historical building, because I know we get every time we want to make a change or demolish a building or somebody wants to grow, they come back and we get wrapped up into this is a historic building.
Okay.
So if we could come up with criteria for that.
Yeah, I think let's not get hung up on that, because what we're not talking about what is going to be what is a historically preserved building or structure. We're kind of looking at it in a different light from the EDAB perspective. What is culturally significant? What is a culturally significant landmark that we know or building that we use maybe to market the city? Now, it may not even have, it may or may not have any true historic value, but it has become sort of a focal point with, you know, how the city's been marketed. You know what I mean? I think we need to really separate the historic significance.
Steve, if I could, I
from the
think what you're
cultural
talking about is an iconic building.
That's
You're
right.
looking for what are the iconic buildings of Havre de Grace, that if they're missing a visual landscape that tells the story of Havre de Grace would be missing.
Yeah, something exactly. So we're looking at it in the sense that if there was a if a tourist came in or somebody was here and they were walking through the city and the Tort building no longer existed, how many people actually come to look at that? That's really what we're talking about. And it could be, the Bayou restaurant, for example, the sign of the Silver Chef. That's probably a very culturally significant, iconic landmark in the city of Havre de Grace for those who traverse the Route 40 corridor. They get off of 95. The Bayou has been there for, I don't know. I worked there as a teenager, so 50 or so years, probably longer than that. So yeah, I think if whoever takes this on, or if you want to have some further discussions on this one, it's more or less trying not to have the historic preservation hat on, but more the iconic significance.
Yeah, just as sort of an aside, I think I know where you're going with this. Julie mentioned that that tour that she created with some folks about going through the city. And there's a number of neat places downtown that I wasn't aware of. For example, there's a building down there that has a cannonball from one of the battles still lodged in it. I think stuff like that's pretty neat, and we have our share of it, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. And that's a great point you bring up, as Julie and her group did that walking tour, which allowed me to participate. Yeah, the Lafayette tour that allowed me to participate in. And there is some really cool stuff in there. And if that's going to be going into our marketing, and probably most of those would be maybe part of this, what this group would find. Okay. Next, Jeff. Legislative Impacts Liaison Committee. So that's a mouthful. So one of the things that I was really impressed with when I came on as chief of staff was how the Harford County Chamber of Commerce has set up under Angela Rose's leadership. They set up this executive committee, and all this group does is really focus on legislative matters that are occurring down in Annapolis. And during the session, we meet every other week. Off session about once a month. During COVID, it's been a little changed, but typically that's how it would work. But I thought this would be a great project for maybe one or two people, and it maybe be one or two, maybe a person that runs, kind of handles it, and then maybe an alternate. But sort of the vision that we saw with this would be, we have on staff Adam Rachinsky, who goes to Annapolis practically every day during the session. We also have Councilman Martin, who over the last, I guess, 2 or 3 years has been sort of the designee by Maryland Municipal League to represent the city down at Annapolis as well. Having, we get barraged with a lot of information that's coming in that we disseminate out, and we try to get it out to Kathy Vincenti and out to Erica on the business side. But I'm not sure how well it matriculates down to the actual businesses. As an example, there's legislation that comes through every year, and those that are small business owners know that can be very detrimental to how they operate. And it's these unfunded mandates that are continually pushed down. That in most cases, the small shop owner doesn't even have the opportunity to even know about it. This would be sort of that segue. And it would also give an opportunity through EDAB just to filter out all the legislation and just focus on those that are business related. And working with myself, and I would even invite whoever would want to chair this to come to the chamber meetings with me, and Adam and Dave Martin, to either to whatever extreme that you're looking for, to attend at the chamber meetings, to go down to Annapolis with Adam daily. If this was something that we were gonna, there's something that is coming up that we want to have sub meetings or meetings with the individual delegates, we would arrange those. The information could then come back and we could get involvement from the grassroots level, some of these businesses, signing petitions or letters of support or non, that can get back to our legislative representatives. So I think this is a pretty exciting one, I think, that would keep our local businesses really engaged in something that's, most times very boring, but it's so important. And I know over the last, since Mayor Martin's taken over as mayor, this is something that we've really been focused on, is trying to spend a lot of times with just having our face down in Annapolis and making, we're the squeaky wheel. At some point you get, some oil. So I thought this would be a good subcommittee or good project for EDAB. No questions on that one? Next. So those were the numbers of that we had come up with. Again, these were suggestions that came from the mayor's office with the endorsement of the mayor. If, as we're sitting here or in the coming, weeks or months, if there's a suggestion or, there's an epiphany, hey, we should be doing this project or that project, we're all ears. We really want to make sure that the talent that's involved with this group is really utilized to the best possible way. Sort of the last slide I put together is, the success measurement, which economic development we often say is very hard to measure, but these are just a number of metrics that we as a group, or you as a group, EDAB as a group, could select, and we would support in maintaining monthly measurements or quarterly or weekly, whatever the case may be. But these were just to kind of provoke some thought into what the EDAB group feels like are good metrics that we should be sharing with the mayor's office in order to kind of look at how well or not we are progressing and what areas we need for improvement. So folks, that's my spiel. I apologize for taking as long as it did, but I think it's very important that the talent that's sitting here is not wasted. The mayor is very excited with the group that's here. Warren had proposed several other members that he wanted to bring on board, and I think it's just going to be a great fit. But I think utilization is the key here.
That's a great report, Steve. Really appreciate that. And there's a lot of very good initiatives there that we can more than sink our teeth into, I think. Any questions for Steve? Comments?
I appreciate it, Mike. And we can follow up maybe sometime mid next week after everybody digests it a bit, and maybe set up a follow-up and pick the top 2, 3. If you think there's only, whatever's doable by the group is what I'd like to do.
Well, there are a couple of initiatives there. I think we can attack pretty quickly. So yeah, we'll be ready to talk about this, I think, pretty soon.
All right. Again, thanks for your time.
Thank you, Steve. Really appreciate that.
Thanks.
All right. Anything else from the group? Any other topics? We've got our next meeting scheduled for September 16th, but I presume we'll be talking before that to kind of, respond officially to the proposals from that we just saw on the PowerPoint there. But at the very least, we'll be gathering back again, Teams meeting on the 16th. Any questions, any other comments before we adjourn?
Well, just one more thing, Mike, I'll have Tammy reach out to Dave.
Perfect.
So they can connect. And then Dave, if you can provide her with sort of just a very brief scoping of what you would like, what kind of
Sure.
support you would like. Yep.
Great, thank you.
And if you don't
Great.
mind, carbon copy me on that.
Will do.
Greatly appreciate that. Anything else?
Mike, what do you want to do with these initiatives? Do you want us to send in comments, express interest in any that you think, people might be interested in? Do you want to have a sidebar conversation with the group to see what people think?
Yeah, I think, we can set up a Teams meeting from here and just pull everybody back in, and I'll let, we'll want to assign somebody to kind of start collecting feedback on this. But I'll actually give Warren a call tonight and see how he wants to move forward with it. But we can certainly initiate a Teams meeting from here if that makes it easy, and we can talk more about these.
Okay, thank you.
All right, folks. Terry, anything else? You usually have a workforce network comment before we go. Anything else?
Oh, okay, sure. A lot of companies are hiring, and it's when we have a hot jobs list in these times of COVID that we post on our website and put out there on our Facebook page and also on LinkedIn. The sad thing to say is we're still having a low number of people contact us that are looking for work. A lot of people that have been collecting unemployment are still looking for the federal government and the state to extend the benefit through the end of December. And with the news we got this morning, it looks like there's a possibility that in the state of Maryland, and maybe even nationwide, that it will be extended through December 31st. And, for some reason, people are just banking on that.
Yeah.
We thought that we were going to be deluged by a lot of people once the federal benefit of $600 a week ran out the end of July, but that hasn't happened. We continue to offer the services, and so we're just reaching out to the job seekers and letting them know, people know that we're there for that. And also we're also, of course, helping the businesses. Like I said, a lot of businesses are hiring. Unemployment in Harford County right now is 8%. So that's very low with respect to the state and also nationwide. So that's a good thing. But then we also offer services to the employers that are closing. For example, today we had a presentation to the staff over at the distribution center in Aberdeen for Pier 1. They're closing, sad to say, the end of this month on the 31st. So it's just part of business, is part of life. So those are the services that we offer. And we're looking to having, hopefully in the fall, a virtual job there. So I'll be back in touch with updated information on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Appreciate it. And finally, Maria, really quickly, any input from the Route 40 Business Association that you'd care to share? Anything?
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
So the Route 40 Business Association did apply for the round 1 of the NORI grant, and we did receive, we were approved for a grant. So just to let you know that it is possible that you can get funding as a result of that. We are going to hold our next event on Wednesday, September 9th, and we're going to have an in-person as well as a virtual option. That is our annual meeting luncheon, which will be held at Water's Edge Event Center. So many of you are members, and we appreciate that. And many of you who are not members, I believe you receive our communications. So we certainly encourage everyone to attend, either in person or virtually.
Very good. Thanks, Maria. Appreciate that. Okay, well, I didn't get us out of here quite at 5 o'clock, but only 6 minutes late. Anything else? Last call here. All right. Very good, everybody. Appreciate it. Again, thank you, Steve. Thanks for all the reports. Appreciate everybody tuning in here. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. And Chris has got his hand up, so there we go.
Thank you, Mike.
All right. Take care, everybody. Have a good night.
Everybody
Good
be
luck with your
well.
surgery, Terry.
Thanks.